I think a lot of people feel guilty for wanting more out of life, especially when they've already been through so much. Like somehow desiring peace or wanting a soft life or wanting to feel fulfilled, joyful. You want healthier relationships, financial stability, or just a different version of life. That somehow that means that you're being ungrateful for what you already have. But I think that gratitude and desire are the same. They're not opposites. They can exist in the same space. They're not enemies. Um so good morning and welcome back to Monday Mantras. If you're new here, my name is Jamila, and this series is all about starting the week with a little more intention, honesty, and self-awareness before life starts pulling you in 100 different directions all at once. So today's mantra is simply this: wanting more does not make you ungrateful. I really want people to sit with that for a moment, because so many of us have been conditioned to shrink what we truly desire, right? Especially those of us who've spent, most of our lives in survival mode. Um, and when you've had to fight so hard emotionally, mentally, physically, or financially just to keep your head above water and just to keep going, you start to convince yourself that simply surviving should be enough. And you start feeling guilty for wanting anything past that, anything beyond that. So you start telling yourself, at least I made it, or at least things aren't worse, or, somewhere somebody has it worse. I hate that. Or, at least, I should be grateful or thankful. And yes, gratitude does matter, but gratitude should not become a cage, right? There's nothing wrong with appreciating where you are while also acknowledging that something inside of you is asking for more. More peace, more stability, more alignment, more purpose, more rest, more joy, more honesty, more fulfillment, more room to breathe. None of that makes you selfish. And honestly, I think a lot of people have talked themselves out of the lives that they truly want because they are afraid of looking ungrateful. I am guilty of that. So we stay in environments that drain us. Relationships, we outgrow them. Versions of ourselves that no longer fit, patterns that keep us small. And it's not necessarily because we're happy here, but it's because we feel guilty about wanting more. But wanting more for your life is not a betrayal of your past. It's not disrespectful to the version of you that made it through, that survived. In many ways, it's actually honoring that version of yourself, because making it through and surviving, it was never supposed to be the final destination. You were not meant to spend your entire life just barely making it through. You're allowed to desire a life that feels softer. You're allowed, to desire a life that feels healthier, that actually feels like it belongs to you, right? And I think a lot of people Sometimes wait for permission to admit that, and permission to say, I'm thankful, but I also know there's more for me in this life than this. And, that alone can carry so much guilt for people, and it shouldn't. Growth, often begins the moment you stop apologizing for your own desires and apologizing for the things that you actually want. And I'm not talking about reckless desires, or, performative desires, just the honest desires, things that you really, really, really want. The desires that make you feel, at peace, or to feel seen, that don't make you constantly exhausted emotionally. And, the ones that help you become someone who actually sees you again. You begin to recognize yourself again. Those desires actually matter, and they deserve space. So this week I want you to stop questioning whether wanting more makes you a bad person, because it doesn't. Instead, ask yourself, what kind of life am I truly longing for underneath all of this survival? Because there's nothing wrong with wanting more for yourself. And wanting more does not make you ungrateful. So, thank you for spending your Monday morning with me, and I will see you all next week for another Monday mantra. See you guys next week. Have a great week.